Hi people, this is NITYANAND TANTI, and today I'm gonna talk about Walden, written by Henry David Thoreau. To understand Walden, we need to know what Transcendentalism is, what Romanticism in America is, and some of American movements or periods of American literature. So, first of all, we will see Romanticism in America. Then, next, we will move on to Transcendentalism, and then writers, and then we will go through the text of the Walden. So let's talk about Romanticism in America. As we find in France, the Romanticism came into existence. Chateaubriand is famously known as the father of French Romanticism, and he paved the way of European Romanticism, like in England. In England, we find S.T. Coleridge and William Wordsworth, who gave the shape of Romanticism in England with the publication of lyrical ballads. So, with the emergence of Chateaubriand in France to England, and then Romanticism came into existence in America too. There are few writers like Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, Alcott, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Melville, Walt Whitman, and so on and so forth. So, these are the writers who emerged somewhere around 1815 to 1865. So, in American literature, if we see, we find that there are some periods also in the American literature, like British literature. So in American, if we see the period of Romanticism in America, the period is calculated from 1828 to 1865. So this is the period of American Romanticism, and in this period we find British literature, romantic poets like Thoreau, who has written a very famous document in American literature, and through this work, he has proved a real nature lover writer who had spent some of his years, like 2 years, in the shore of Walden Pond to establish the harmony between nature and human being. So This is the period of Romanticism in America, where we find that writers are um, very influenced with nature, like England. And if we talk about transcendentalism, we find that transcendentalism is a first it was a religious movement. Then with the period of time, it became a philosophical and literary movement, which in which some of the writers came to uh, push it forth, and this became a major movement in America between 1815 to 1836. The term transcendentalism came from Immanuel Kant's ideas of transcendentalist. This was propounded, this movement was propounded in all over America and Europe too. So, so transcendentalists believed that man at the man are at the center of this universe, who explored the mysteries of this universe, the histories of the universe. Um, I read some of the lines that what transcendentalists believed. Transcendentalists believed that human beings carried within themselves the seeds of divinity and were hence capable of comprehending divine truth. So, transcendentalists believed that men are superior and men are men are the pivot of the whole universe. They believed themselves the seeds of divinity. They are very much capable of doing everything in this world. So, this is all about transcendentalism, transcendentalist movement. This is not a short term but a broad concept of American literature. Okay, so next we will deal Henry David Thoreau. Henry David Thoreau was an American poet, critic, essayist, and so on and so forth. He is very much known for his work Walden, that was published in 1856. Sorry, 1854. Mahatma Gandhi was influenced by Thoreau's. There is a work of Thoreau that is Culture and the Government. So Mahatma Gandhi was influenced with by him. If we see Walden is an independence of personal emotion of Thoreau. Thoreau wants to establish a harmony between man and nature. So he lived 2 months, he lived 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days in the shore of Walden Pond in a very uh, congested cabin, and he proved himself that there is a mm, there is a big relationship between nature and human being. It can be apt to call Henry David Thoreau the Wordsworth of American literature. He has adopted Wordsworthian concepts of Romanticism. He is also known as a great nature lover. So, this was a journey, this was a document of Thoreau's 26 of months life. He has emphasized uh, in transcendentalist concept that simplicity, and simplicity. So he follows the life of simplicity, being or living in the lap of nature. Walden is a product where he lived in his semi isolation world, and if we see, Walden is a name of a place owned by his friend Ralph Waldo Emerson, where Thoreau built a cabin of 10 by 15 foot near Concord, Massachusetts, New England. So, if we go next in Walden texts, we will find there are 18 chapters in this book, including a conclusion at the end. It begins with the first chapter, that is economy. The book talks about personal declaration of independence, satire, social experiment, voice of spiritual discovery, and manual of self reliance. The book has details of Thoreau's experience of 2 years, where he breaks the conventional ways of living and lived there happily for the period of 26 months. So, this is all about the introduction of Walden, the book written by Thoreau.